In the Amida, in the Shemon Esrei, we say, Zocheh Chasdei Avos. God remembers the chesed of the patriarchs. What does that mean? There's such a thing known as chus avos. We ourselves, we're continuously reaping from the merit of the patriarchs. Could you imagine? We're talking about hundreds of generations since the patriarchs. We, in our own right, don't have enough merit to merit what we have.
About what they were selling.
But because God is Zocheh Chasdei Avos, He remembers the merit of the patriarchs, therefore He gives us every chance to continue and still be within a context to be able to succeed. But what about when the merit of the patriarchs becomes exhausted, depleted? We say in the Amida, or maybe God live Nevnei Manshma. That's when it's time to bring Mashiach. If we have what to rely on, the merit of the patriarchs, God gives us every chance in the world. But once that starts faltering, then it's time for Mashiach to come. So over here he cites Yerushalmi, the Jerusalem Talmud. He explains Rabbi Yochanan bar Brachia, Rabbi Yochanan bar Chonim b'shem Rabbi Yach Omar HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yisrael. Hashem had said to the Jewish people, Im re'isem tzchus avos u'tzchus imos shenismotetu. If you see that the merit of the patriarchs and matriarchs starts faltering, l'chu v'istapku b'chesed. You should go cleave, attach yourself to do acts of loving kindness. My time or why? So he quotes a verse, because the mountains are starting to move. They're not secure. Hagvos timotena, and the elevated locations also are starting to shift. When we speak about the mountains are moving, they're not secure, this is speaking about the merit of the patriarchs. Hagvos timotena, the exalted locations also are starting to shift. That's the merit of the matriarchs. So what do? We don't have the merit of the patriarchs, and the matriarchs were left bereft. So Hashem says, no, but my chesed will not be removed. As much as their chesed, their merit is starting to shift, my chesed to you remains intact. It will not in any way weaken. Why? Because God says, I am the merciful one. I'm the one that has mercy on you. So he says, Avram, we know, was the pillar of loving kindness. And all the chesed that was done in the world at the time of Avram Avinu was in the merit of Avram's act of what? Cleaving and empowering chesed. His attribute was loving kindness, Avram. When he did loving kindness, Hashem showered kindness on the world in the merit of Avram. The other patriarchs, although their primary characteristic was not that, but of course they were involved in doing chesed, they brought chesed to the world. We find that the Midrash tells us when Adam ate of the tree of knowledge, initially, where was the divine presence? It was on the terrestrial level. But as a result of him putrefying existence, it ascended 7 levels until it detached itself from this world. When we finished the Yom Kippur service, we said Hashem Hu Elokim 7 times. What is the significance of Hashem Hu Elokim 7 times? That during the Aser Shemei Tshuva, during the 10 days of penitence for Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, the divine presence is close to us. It's with us. The moment we finish Yom Kippur service, the Ne'ilah, the Shekhinah, the divine presence, ascends from this world, detaches itself. So every time we say Hashem Elokim, Hashem is the Almighty, the Shekhinah goes up 1 level. Until finally, by the 7th time we say it, it totally detaches itself until next year, during the 10 days of penitence. Gradually, it's 1 at a time. Every time we declare Hashem Elokim, God is the Almighty, it goes up 1 notch until finally it detaches itself totally. What happened with Adam initially, it went up, it detached itself immediately. As a result, because he ate of the tree of knowledge, which is evil. At Sinai, it came back. At Sinai, when God gave Torah to the Jewish people, it came back to physical existence. We could have a relation with God. So he explains in the process, Avram Avinu brought the Shekhinah to the 5th level. Yaakov brought it to even a lower level, closer to the reality of this world. But how do you bring him? How do you maintain him? By doing chesed. By doing acts of loving kindness, that brings the Shekhinah closer, that we can be beneficiaries of God's presence. He says, and finally, at the time of the giving Torah at Sinai, the Shekhinah descended to the terrestrial level where it was back. What happened after the Chet Egel, the sin of golden calf? Again, it detached itself. What happened when the Mishkan was built? And we discussed this. It says God's joy at the time of the Mishkan, when Aaron and his children were installed as Kohanim, that joy was the 8th day of the inauguration. It says the joy God had was the same joy like he had at the beginning of creation. Because as it says, Vahi b'yom hashmini, and it was the 8th day, it says Vayer v'yivoker. It was evening, it was morning, time of creation. So we explained then that what was the objective of creation? God should not be in heaven. God should be on the terrestrial level together with Adam. But because Adam putrefied himself in existence, God says, I can't have a relationship. Who brought back that relationship? Klal Yisrael, Sinai, when he accepted the Torah, that's when we were fully integrated with God through the Torah itself. But until Sinai, Avram brought him back one level, Yaakov brought him back another level, each one brought him back another level. But the full reinstatement of Hashem on the terrestrial level with us, what we said, we accepted the Torah at Sinai. That's it. So whenever we have problems, the decrees against us, what should we shore up? What should we improve? We have to improve chesed. You do chesed, you're emulating God. And when you emulate God in that context, you become more secure because God is more involved in our lives. Okay? Chofetz Chaim writes over here that if one sees that the attribute of justice is intensifying on humanity, what is good advice? You have to what? Assume the persona of Chesed. And if you assume that, it'll ward off all these decrees, these evil decrees. Because if he quotes a beautiful medrash, when we do Chesed, Hashem says to his heavenly retinue, my children who need Chesed, if they do Chesed, I who don't need Chesed, how much more I should do Chesed? So that is the impetus, that's the activator, which activates Hashem to do Chesed. So if there's a decree against the Jewish people, that's not Chesed to us. But if we intensify and we shore up and upgrade our Chesed, what happens? Then Hashem gives you the full measure of Chesed. And full measure Chesed means the decrees are annulled. Everything's put on a lower level due to that. At the beginning of the portion which we read on Yom Kippur, that the high priest is only permitted to go into the Holy of Holies once a year on Yom Kippur. During the year, he's not permitted to go there. And the Torah, when it states it, it says, after the passing of the two sons of Aaron, it says you should not enter into the Holy of Holies, only in Yom Kippur. So the Midrash asks, why do we have to speak about after the passing of the sons of Aaron? None of Aviv. Just don't say, you're not permitted, only in Yom Kippur. So the Midrash answers that if a person's not well and his health is very precarious, what does the doctor say to him? You must eat healthy food. You must drink healthy drink. And you must sleep in an area that's not damp. Because if it's dampness and cold, it could actually compromise you and you could even die. So what happens? The person doesn't take the warning of the doctor seriously. He doesn't eat exactly what he should eat, and he dies. Now, there's another patient who has the exact same condition, and he says to that patient, you see this man, he had your condition, and because he didn't follow my instructions as he should, that's why he died. Whose directive is more impactful, the first person, the first patient, or the second patient? The second patient. Why? Because the first patient, we're talking about theoretics. Be careful, don't eat this, do drink this, if you want to live a long life. But the question is, what is your credibility? Maybe it has nothing to do with whatever you're telling me. So therefore, Hashem says to Aaron, as great as he is, just as your sons died because they went in there, it's like the doctor saying to the second patient, you see that man, you know why he died? Because he didn't follow my order. If he would have, he'd still be alive. So Hashem is saying to Aaron, as great as you are, you understand the reason why your children died is because they didn't belong to me. They crossed those lines. They went into a location that they're not permitted to be there. Therefore, you, although you're the high priest, you can only go to the locations which I allow you to go to. If not, you're totally compromised. Okay? We've had the concept proven. Avram Avinu. When Adam putrefied the world, the Shekhinah left its existence. Yet through Avram Avinu, the Shekhinah came back to a level. And due to what Yitzchak did, the Shekhinah were brought back even to a closer level. And Yaakov, the one who fathered the 12 tribes. The more Shekhinah you have, the more of God's presence you have, the less issues, problems you have. Safety issues, illness issues, whatever it is.
Yes.